Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have quite a bit to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Lakers are officially donezo as they got swept by the Denver Nuggets. But at least we are free from the pain that is having to deal with having the Lakers torture us night in and night out. And also, they didn't really lose all that bad, but they just blew a 15-point lead in Game 4. Also, the LA Galaxy won in the US Open Cup against LAFC, but there's something about this win that is rather fishy if you ask me. How did LAFC lose when they had that stacked roster? Also, the Angels recently swept the Boston Red Sox. Is this the start of something good, or is this just the start of something good and then they're about to crash and burn? Also, the Dodgers have been playing decent. They took down the Atlanta Braves 2 out of 3 times. But can they keep it up? Also, we have the NWSL to discuss, and we have quite a bit of dum-dums of the week to go over. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed, all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 135 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on its regular time and day, by the way. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter, TikTok, and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page for those that still use Facebook. All you just gotta do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar, see our logo, click on it, and then like us and follow us on Facebook, and then boom, that's how you're able to do it. So we also have a website which is definitely being revamped and definitely being improved. All you just gotta do is type in the word IE or www.iesportsradio.com in the search bar of whether you're using whether it's Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or whatever Internet Explorer or whatever internet you're using. But all you just gotta do is type in the word www.iesportsradio.com, and once you go there, you will see a Patreon link at the top, and once you click it, if you choose to do so, donations will start out at $5 a month once you donate. This will get you a shout out from all of our shows, including this one, and higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment with Larry B., which went on about an hour ago. Because for the past 9 years, as IE Sports Radio just turned 9 years old, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Key to the Gate, Marcus Loscrit, and a donor that wishes to remain anonymous. With all that said and done, let us begin, as we already have the chat room going on Spreaker. So Larry B says, let's do this. And Adam Karnick is at work. He says, I'll catch a few minutes while I'm at work. And he says, how do I get to the website via MS-DOS? Asking for a friend. I have never even heard of that. The website, what I just use is, what I use is it's not, I sometimes use Google Chrome, and then sometimes I use Microsoft Edge. So Microsoft Edge is basically on my default tabs right by Spreaker, so that's the one I use, and Google Chrome is probably the best one to use just because you'll basically get like notifications of malware and whatnot, so that's just my recommendation. And Larry B wants to hear about modern day schedule, and you know what? You're on. I actually just tweeted this out via my personal account, my Twitter account at Teran Rodriguez 1, as Modern Day's football schedule has released, or Modern Day's football team has released its 2023 varsity schedule. So this is its varsity schedule. Unfortunately, its underclassmen have yet to release its schedule, but I think everyone pretty much cares about the varsity schedule. So in week 0, or its first game of the season, will be on the road against Corona Centennial. Right off the bat, they are kicking off the Frank McManus era against, as Larry B calls them, the football factory, Corona Centennial. And that's probably the best opponent to kick off the Frank McManus era, against a longtime rival, not a league rival, but a longtime rival in terms of its, in terms of like battles that it's faced off against. So, man, that's probably going to be a firework matchup right there. And it's it's going to be a barn burner, and I can't wait for that matchup. And Larry B is super excited. He says, "Wow!" And I basically was excited about this one as well. And week 1, week 0, it's basically it is what it is. Some teams start on week 0, some teams start on week 1. It's their first game of the season. Then their second game of the season will be another road game, but this time they're actually going to be traveling out of California, as they'll be traveling to Utah to play Bingham. So that's quite the interesting game. And then their first home game will not be until September 2nd, where they play at the Santa Ana Bowl, where they play Creekside of Georgia. So that's an interesting... So back-to-back opponents where they play out-of-state opponents. Except this time they'll welcome Creekside of Georgia to the Santa Ana Bowl. That's quite interesting. And then they welcome another out-of-state team in Kahuku of Hawaii on September 9th. So that's quite interesting right there. And then Modern Day welcomes... Well, actually, no. They have their bye on... They actually have their bye following that week on the... following the September 9th, as... September 15th and 16th they have their bye, which is quite an interesting time to take their bye, because normally teams take their bye after their non-conference slate, but this time Modern Day is taking their bye the day before, or the game before they have the week before they have their bye. You know what I mean. So their last non-conference game is on the road, and believe it or not, it's going to be quite far. It's going to be all the way in the East Coast in the DMV, as they're actually going to be hitting the road to Maryland to play St. Francis Academy. Man. And we thought them playing IMG Academy was crazy. So they're playing St. Francis Academy, which is one of the better teams in the nation. So, woo, Nelly. Yes, Larry, they are playing St. Francis Academy in Maryland. So get your popcorn ready. This is probably going to be on probably pay-per-view, maybe on ESPN. So, yes. So after that game, Modern Day kicks off league play as they host Servite on September 29th. So Servite obviously had their down year, but they should be back. You can't really keep Servite down. They did get a new head coach following Troy Thomas stepping down, so we'll see what happens with Servite. Then on October 6th, they host J. Sarah for its homecoming game, which I think that should be a good game. J. Sarah also just got a new head coach after their previous head coach. I forget his name, but the previous head coach kind of had like health issues, which is unfortunate. But he is doing fine, and I wish him the best going forward. And I think J. Sarah is probably an improved team. I think they can make some noise, but it's always the two-headed monster in the Trinity League between St. John Bosco and Mater Dei. And that's actually a perfect segue for the next game. October 13th, Mater Dei heads down to Bellflower to take on St. John Bosco, and that's going to be the game which could decide the Trinity League. And it's always that game that decides the Trinity League. And sometimes it's that game that decides the CIF Southern Section Division I Championship, aka the National Championship. So that's obviously going to be round 1, and eventually we're going to see round 2, barring any crazy upsets. And then on October 20th, Mater Dei heads down to, most likely, Orange Coast College to play Orange Lutheran, because Orange Lutheran plays their games at Orange Coast College, which was the school that I went to in my junior college days. And then Mater Dei closes out its regular season at the Santa Ana Bowl against Santa Margarita, which should be a decent game. I mean, I can't really project on how good these Trinity League teams are going to do. I mean, obviously Mater Dei and Bosco are going to be number 1 and number 2 in terms of the Trinity League standings. And then number 3 is pretty much up for grabs between Servite, Orange Lutheran, Santa Margarita, and J. Sarah. Sometimes it's like a paradigm shift every single year. Like 1 year it's sometimes Servite taking 3rd, 1 year it's J. Sarah taking 3rd, 1 year it's Santa Margarita taking 3rd, and sometimes Orange Lutheran surprises us and takes 3rd. So this is going to be quite the fascinating year. And with the whole new, I wouldn't say Cal Prep's football league realignments happening, the Trinity League is safe. I will just say that right there. The Trinity League is not going to be touched. Those 6 Trinity League teams are going to continue to have its Trinity League battles just because they are independent and they don't have, their school district is not it's not tethered within an actual school district. So I know I'm getting a little technical, but that's just what I've been hearing. Like, it's basically, they're trying to rule out teams dominating certain leagues, like La Habra High School dominating the Freeway League, and maybe Mission Viejo dominating the South Coast League, and the list goes on and on. So it's certainly not going to solve the problem of Mater Dei and St. John Bosco terrorizing the CIF Southern Section Division I, because whoever's going to be facing Mater Dei or Bosco in the semifinals, they're actually going to get punished for being that good. But I'm not going to go I'm not going to go too deep into that rabbit hole. That's going to be probably for like 3 and Out College Edition, or for when high school football season gets fully into the swing of things. Right now, we're currently in the off season. It's almost summer, and this is basically it's basically 7-on-7s, and I wish I could have gone to a 7-on-7 tournament last week, but I was just busy. But I digress. Alright, so that's enough of high school football, as it's certainly going to be a fun high school football season, and I can't wait to be back at it in terms of reporting and whatnot. So that's that for that gist of it right there. So now let's jump on over to the NBA, and it's time we bury the Lakers, or we have our little funeral, as the Lakers sadly saw their season come to an end on Monday as they lost to the Denver Nuggets 113 and 111. The Lakers had a 15-point lead at halftime, and I actually saw a glimpse of that. I saw that the Lakers were up, and I'm like, okay, well, it looks like the Lakers are going to keep their season alive, and I was actually quite relieved. And then I was actually at a banquet when I first saw that score, and then I got my mom picked me up, and then she basically told me the Lakers lost, and I'm like, weren't they up 15 at halftime? And then I checked the score, and they lost by 2. It's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, dude. That's just straight up lame. And the worst part is, LeBron James had probably the game of his life with a 40-point game, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. He even made 4 threes, which is probably the more threes than he's made this entire series, maybe even in the playoffs. The dude shot 60% from the field, but it still wasn't enough, as even Anthony Davis couldn't even will the Lakers to victory. The Lakers had all their starters in double digits, but they just couldn't win. The bench just lacked, as they only had 10 points off the bench, which that's kind of concerning if you ask me. But it doesn't matter anymore, as the Denver Nuggets advanced after 30 points from Nikola Jokic. He even had a crazy fadeaway three-pointer, which was just bonkers. And he had a triple-double. Michael Porter Jr. had a double-double as well. 15 points, 10 boards. Aaron Gordon had 22 points, and Jamal Murray had 25 points as well. So overall for the Lakers, they did all that they could. And in this series, this was just a running theme for the Lakers. They didn't get blown out. They weren't humiliated, except maybe in like Game 3, I guess. But they just could not win. And the only letters that truly matter in any sport are W and L. You don't get any second place trophy or any like sympathy if you come close to beating a team, especially come playoff time. So, unfortunately for the Lakers, their season is ended. But like I said on my personal account on Twitter and the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, I am totally at peace knowing that the Lakers season is officially donezo, and I can basically be at peace knowing that, well, for starters, we can no longer see their season drag out. And even if they forced a Game 5, would they really beat Denver at Denver? Probably not. Just because Denver was just jumping the last time the two teams played. And honestly, I think Nikola Jokic would have fed off that energy, as well as Jamal Murray and all those other guys. So, for the Lakers, the fact that they even got to the Western Conference Finals was amazing. I don't think anyone predicted the Lakers to have such an outstanding season. Because you got to remember, Lakers finished dead last in their division. They started 0-5. They started 2-10, and then that improved to 2-10. Notice how I use that word "2" and improved. And then they had less than a 1% chance to make the playoffs. I'm not kidding you. They actually had less than a 1% chance to even make the playoffs. So everyone that thought the Lakers were going to be really good, or they were guaranteed to make the playoffs, the NBA had other plans on that. And then the Lakers made the play-in tournament. Y'all got to remember, Lakers made the play-in tournament. They narrowly got past the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then they had to beat the Memphis Grizzlies, which was a dysfunctional blow-up because of everything that happened, and Dylan Brooks poking the bear. And then they dethroned the reigning champion Golden State Warriors, which, honestly, that could have gone either way. With how the Warriors can be streaky shooters, but honestly, I really thought that could have been a 50-50 matchup right there, just because the Warriors have been sucky on the road, but they have some of the best shooters like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, even though Klay unfortunately did not show up this series. And they also have the super aggressive man himself, Draymond Green. So Lakers got all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but unfortunately laid an egg. And that was kind of the sad thing. They got all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and then they just looked so complacent. They just got to the conference finals, and then they just said, all right, well, we got to the conference finals. We're good. And Larry said the Nuggets were the superior team. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And the Nuggets have kind of earned this moment. And for them, here's my thing. It's been a long time coming for them. And it would be so great to see Nikola Jokic get his first ring. And it would also be great to see Denver get a championship. I mean, I don't even remember the last time they've won a championship in any sport that's not like the Broncos and whatnot. But anyway, and Larry says after that season, the Lakers getting that far was a championship. There you go. That's it right there. And LZ Granderson of the LA Times, and who is also part of ESPN LA, I think also made a great point, and he's also an ABC contributor. He said 13th place. I think he's referring to the Lakers were once a 13th place team. They had a new team altogether. They had an injured leader, referring to LeBron James. They had to play in the play-in game. Talented youth like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura and all those other guys. And then they beat the defending champs. Or actually, I think he's referring to the talented youth that was the Memphis Grizzlies, which they beat the talented youth team that was the Memphis Grizzlies. Then the defending champs, which they beat. And then he said, this season won't get a banner, but it'll be remembered. Which I totally agree on, and I totally understand. And I totally agree on that. And I even said, their goose is cooked, but I am totally happy they got farther than 6 other Western Conference teams, and they got farther than 14 other Western Conference teams. Well, 13 if you ask me, because the Celtics, unfortunately, the Celtics / Heat are unfortunately still playing right now as of this recording. But for the Lakers, I am very happy on how they played, and I didn't even expect the Lakers to get this far. I don't think anybody had expectations to have them going this far. And I honestly didn't even expect them to have this type of season. They really turned it around in the second half of the season. And I'll give Rob Pelinka his flowers. He got rid of Russell Westbrook, which was awesome. I think every Laker fan can attest to that. And he got good key pieces like Rui Hachimura. He also got Austin Reeves, which was a fan favorite. He actually turned out to be more than just a fan favorite. He turned out to be quite a fantastic addition for the Lakers. And they got D'Angelo Russell back, even though he was a complete wash this series, which is completely disappointing. Dennis Schroeder, I'll give him his flowers. He stepped up. And then they had a few other players step up as well in terms of the season, not just before the trade, but after the trade as well. Unfortunately, it just was too little too late, and the Lakers season ended, but we can hang our hats on the Lakers season basically being well more than just a success. I mean, yes, people are going to say it's championships or bust. However, you got to look on the side of the glass half full. No one expected the Lakers to do anything. Some people thought the Lakers were going to miss the playoffs. It's a new head coach in Darvin Ham. People thought that was going to be a complete wash. What did you expect from the Lakers? I mean, I know they're national attention grabbers, they're national media attention grabbers, and they have LeBron James and all that, but come on. You can't expect Rome to be built in a day with the Lakers. Like, come on now. Speaking of LeBron James, there was this big-time question. Is LeBron James going to retire? As the dude practically played his tushy off. The dude basically poured his heart and soul. Like I said, he had a 40-point game. He nearly had a triple-double. And Max Kellerman kind of said this on his Twitter page. And I don't know which one. I don't know the exact quote he said, but he basically put something into perspective. That he basically said that LeBron James also played 48 minutes, and he practically did everything in that game, and he even had the game-winning shot for the Lakers. So here was his thing. 38 years old, season 20, needing surgery, basically had a 40-point triple-double. Not really. He was 1 assist shy, or 1 rebound shy. Playing 48 minutes in an elimination game, he got to within 1 possession with the ball and 4 seconds left in an elimination game. Just ridiculous. And that was his perspective. And this was about an hour ago. And now, he's obviously referring to LeBron James obviously being one of the better players of all time. I will obviously refer to Michael Jordan being the GOAT. And we obviously can't forget about the late, great Kobe Bryant. But I will defer to LeBron James being one of the greats, but he's just not the GOAT. That honor goes to Michael Jordan. But for LeBron James, if he does retire, here's my thing. If he does retire, then he deserves it. He had an outstanding career. He is the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, and I don't think anyone predicted that. I mean, obviously the LeBron fanboys obviously predicted that, or LeBron fan girls as well. But I don't think anyone could have realistically predicted that. And the dude wasn't really 100%. And the dude tried to drag the Lakers to the finish line for the most part. He and Anthony Davis. But if he does retire, then he had a fantastic season, and I salute him for coming to the Lakers of all teams. He could have gone anywhere. He could have stayed in Cleveland, but the dude chose the Lakers just because Hollywood and staying in the Space Jam 2 movie, and LeBron James, his kid, going to Sierra Canyon and whatnot, and LeBron's other son is going to Campbell Hall, as he actually transferred from Sierra Canyon to Campbell Hall, which is quite interesting. But that's for another day. But if LeBron James doesn't retire, then bully for him. Then he'll get his wish of probably playing with Bronny, which if that happens, then cool. But the dude is gonna need time to think about, and I will say this: even though I kind of rooted for him before he came to the Lakers, even though I am a Kobe guy more than a LeBron guy, even though I will always defer to Michael Jordan being the GOAT, regardless of what happens, I will say this: LeBron is flat out amazing, and even though LeBron has had his fair share of questionable plays with the Lakers, I mean, obviously with the botched layup and the breakaway turnover and all those other things, I still have to give LeBron his flowers, because the dude actually did bring a championship to the Lakers, and I do not care what anyone says. The bubble does count as a championship. Screw what your opinion says otherwise. And LeBron James will forever be a legend, as Larry puts in the chat room. And I can't wait to see. It's probably going to be another decision of him being on ESPN and making his decision on if he's going to retire or if he's going to stay. So whatever his decision is, I'm 100% behind it. And if for some reason LeBron James does retire, then all the LeBron James fanboys and fangirls will finally be off the Lakers bandwagon, and Laker Nation can finally be at peace, knowing that there aren't any Braun fans riding on the coattails of Laker Nation. We could finally have peace, quiet, and tranquility without Laker Nation being slandered by Braun fans. I could call them the other name, but I don't think that would be appropriate to call them on the air like that. I think it would be a little inappropriate. But regardless, LeBron James has quite the offseason on his hands, and especially with Bronny graduating, and then his offseason, and then obviously his decision to come back. And if he doesn't come back, then the Lakers are going to need to hit the ground running in terms of trying to replace him. And then they're also going to need to try to bring back some of their other top players like Austin Reeves. And what are they going to do about Anthony Davis? And what are they going to do about Dennis Schroeder? Schroeder definitely proved himself. D'Lo was great until the Western Conference Finals. And what are they going to do about the other players that they signed and traded for? All I will say is this. Please don't bring back Russell Westbrook. If they bring back Russell Westbrook, or if they bring Kyrie Irving to the Lakers, they're getting dumb of the week. No ifs, ands, or buts about. We do not need Kyrie Irving, or the Lakers don't need Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is poo-poo. He's nothing more than a distraction to the Lakers, and the Lakers don't need him. The Lakers showed that they do not need Kyrie Irving nor Russell Westbrook. And thank goodness Rob Pelinka dealt Westbrook. That right there was a championship on its own. So, I'm just saying. So that is that. And yes, Larry, that would be dumb of the year if they got Kyrie Irving. And with all of Kyrie Irving's antics off the court, that would just be a major distraction for the Lakers. And the Lakers don't need that headache. So, yeah, I think the Lakers have a lot of questions to address. And can they replicate this year? I mean, in terms of like finishing last, I don't think they'll get last. It all depends on what the Clippers do with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and the rest of their core. Considering this year was another belly flop, it all depends on what the Suns do with their core, and Kevin Durant's getting older. What are the Warriors going to do with their core, with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga and all those other guys? Can the Kings replicate their success like they did this season? Time will tell. But for the time being, for the Lakers, they really have to keep up with the Joneses in the Western Conference. Otherwise, they're basically going to still be a play-in team year in and year out. And they can't just bank on miracle after miracle to make the playoffs. I mean, it's cool that they made the playoffs despite having less than a 1% chance of making it. But honestly, it's very unhealthy to have that lifestyle as a franchise. I'm just saying, y'all. Alright, but that is that for the NBA. We can finally put the NBA to rest, as we won't have to deal with it for another few months until like the NBA draft, which the Lakers, I want to say, have a first round pick, which thankfully is the case. I want to say their pick that they traded to the Pelicans was actually nullified because the Lakers did so great, and, well, that was actually a complimentary pick, and since the Lakers did so great this season, the Pelicans pick was nullified, and now the Lakers, I guess, keep that pick, and the Pelicans don't have that pick anymore, and it's just a tough time in Pelicans land. By the way, I will also say this. If anyone who says, and this is a fair warning for everyone, anyone who keeps saying that the Pelicans won the Anthony Davis trade, you're dumb! No, you did not. The Pelicans did not win the Anthony Davis trade. They did not, and until they win an NBA championship, they have no right to say that. I'm just going to leave it at that, but please, I don't care. I mean, Pelicans fans could obviously say that they won the AD trade, but the Lakers got a ring out of it. The Pelicans missed the playoffs. The Lakers made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Pelicans didn't even win in the play-in game. Get out of here with that. Alright, and as Larry put in the chat room, go Sparks. Now go Sparks, which is perfect segue to go into the Los Angeles Sparks. So the Sparks played the Las Vegas Aces, or should I say the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces, in a Commissioner's Cup game. Unfortunately, they lost 94-85. Everything was going swimmingly in the first half as they were up 10. They had such a strong first quarter, and then solid second quarter, the two teams drew even. But then in the third quarter, the Las Vegas Aces erupted for 31 points, outscoring them by 14. And then in the fourth quarter, the Sparks just could not cool off the Aces. So, Larry. Unfortunately, the Aces are the reason why they're the WNBA champs, and it's tough. I had a feeling that this was going to be one of those matches or one of those games that the Aces were going to get the better of the Sparks. Because, like I said last week, the Aces have been a major thorn in the Sparks' side. That was the case last year, as I don't even think the Sparks beat the Aces last year, which is so bad. But the Aces are just so good. This is just a whole pick up the pieces type of game or type of thing for the Aces. And the worst part is, the two teams play again tomorrow, this time in Las Vegas, so that's going to be fun for the Sparks. But at least the Sparks dominated the Mercury. Like I said on Sunday, I did talk about that, and they just strip stomped on the Mercury. But this was a whole different story, as sadly the Sparks just could not get that win. It was just a tale of two halves between the Aces and the Sparks. But at least the Sparks are getting the score down. Like, if this were last year's team, I could go as far as to say that the Aces probably would have won by like 20 or 30. And I'm not just saying that to be a jerk. I'm saying that because last year's Sparks team just did not have that team chemistry. I think this year's Sparks team has so much more promise to them. And I want to say that's probably because they got rid of all the players that weren't like on board. They weren't like all in. Because you have to be all in when it comes to being a team. Because if you're not putting the team ahead of yourself, you should not be playing team sports. Now, I know the Sparks are not at full strength. Nneka Ogwumike did not play because of a non-COVID illness. That's already bad. They also had another player out, Azura Stevens, who was out with a back injury. Remember, Katie Lou Samuelson is out because she's not with the team due to pregnancy. And then Jasmine Thomas is out due to ACL rehab, which is even bad. The Sparks only had 8 players. They only played 8 players, which that's already concerning. Kind of reminds me of the Lakers and how they only played 8 players against the Nuggets, but I digress. The Sparks were led by Chine Ogwumike, who had 19 points, while Lexi Brown added 15 points. The Sparks had 3 players with 11 points, as Derica Hamby, Jordan Canada, and Carly Samuelson each had 11 points, but it wasn't enough, as the Sparks, despite them shooting 42%, which is actually pretty good, it was just not enough, as the Aces shot 52.5%. And also, the Aces made 10 3-pointers. That's already bad news bears right there. And they had one player, Jackie Young, have 30 points. And then Asia Wilson had a double-double as well with 19 points and 13 boards. So the Sparks were kind of outclassed in this game. I know they had a bunch of players missing just because of sickness and personal things and injuries, but still, the Aces still have their number in terms of talent. But it's still early in the season. Let's not panic here. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but playing in Las Vegas is going to be tough. So that is pretty much that for the Sparks. Following that game and heading over to the month of June, the Sparks next Friday will be taking on the Phoenix Mercury, which should be, if anything, maybe the Sparks get their swagger back and they're able to basically put it all together. And hopefully they can get back Nneka Ogwumike, because that sucks because not having her is kind of a big blow. So hopefully she is back. So the Mercury just got their first win of the season, as them being winless was not in retrograde, as they beat the Lynx 90-81. But I'm confident in the Sparks. As long as they can get Neka Ogumike back, they should be fine. They do have a good core of talented players. On the young side, yes, but once they get back most of their players in terms of like injuries and their personal things, I think they should be a much bigger threat. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the Sparks and the Mercury. And then after that, the Sparks play the Seattle Storm next Saturday and the following Tuesday. But we're not going to look that far down the road. That's still another Commissioner's Cup thing. But we'll see what happens. But that is basically that for the Los Angeles Sparks right there. Jumping over to the MLS. So this past Wednesday, I want to say it was Tuesday. This past Tuesday, the LA Galaxy and LAFC actually faced one another in the US Open Cup. And believe it or not, the LA Galaxy actually beat LAFC 2-0. Now, it was 0-0 at halftime, but the Galaxy actually beat LAFC in the second half as Tyler Boyd, no, not the wide receiver from Pitt, who is on the Cincinnati Bengals, who's probably on another team. Tyler Boyd scored for the Galaxy in the 49th minute, and then 3 minutes after that, Ricard Puig scored 3 minutes after that, and eventually the Galaxy won 2-0. Now, you're probably wondering, how did LAFC lose? Well, this was not LAFC's true traditional team. LAFC actually played their C team. So they played a bunch of like young players, like 18-year-olds, and their backups and their reserves and whatnot. So they're developmental players. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see the full roster in this U.S. Open Cup. Now, I'm not sure why LAFC decided to rest most of their starters in El Tráfico against the Galaxy in the U.S. Open Cup, but I don't know. Maybe they're saving them for the CONCACAF Finals, which at that time was 8 more days, which is understandable. I don't know how good Lyon is going to be. I don't cover the international stuff, but I digress. But I will also say this about LAFC fans. For some LAFC fans that are getting their boxers in a bunch or their knickers in a twist, I'll say this. Chill out. This is a game that does not count. I know it's against the Galaxy, and I know you want to see Big Brother beat up on Little Brother, and I know you want to see LAFC win the US Open Cup, but these are games that don't matter. Stop getting worked up over that. Like, who cares, dude? Like, if anything, just let them work their magic in the CONCACAF Finals and just save the starters for the MLS matches. Like, good God. Some of these Twitter people are, like, making a huge deal out of one game that just saw them making this decision. Like, Twitter is not real life, as my brother once said. But it is what it is. So, for the LA Galaxy, they advanced to the US Open Cup quarterfinals, as they will actually play Real Salt Lake. If you had that on your bingo card, congratulations. But the LA Galaxy will play Real Salt Lake on Wednesday, June 7th. Now, believe it or not, the LA Galaxy actually play Real Salt Lake on May 31st at Real Salt Lake, which is kind of funny. So, basically, the Galaxy are going to be playing Real Salt Lake twice in that span, as they're going to be playing at the America First Field in Sandy, Utah. So, they might as well spend, from the span of May 31st all the way to June 7th, they might as well spend that week in Sandy, Utah, just because they're going to be there for that MLS game, and they're also going to be there for the US Open Cup quarterfinals. I guess maybe they just want to come back to Southern California where it's not as cold and whatnot. But I digress, possibly. We'll see. But for right now, that's not the most recent game that the Galaxy have. The Galaxy actually play this weekend as they play Charlotte FC this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. As it currently stands still, the Galaxy are still the worst team in the Western Conference, let alone the worst team in the MLS, which is horrible right there. I still can't believe that is still a thing. From quarterfinalist or team that made it all the way to quarterfinalist. A team that made it all the way to the MLS quarterfinals to eventually losing to the eventual champion. They're now the bottom dweller of the MLS, which is complete dog crap right there. Gosh, LA Galaxy. How is Klein's seat hot? And the worst part is, for Galaxy fans, that win is going to be masked by the fact that Klein probably is still on the hot seat in terms of, like, selling the team and getting removed and whatnot. So, oops. Galaxy done messed up now. So as for LAFC, now that they're out of the U.S. Open Cup tournament, they can now focus on the CONCACAF finals, as their first leg is against Lyon, and that is going to be played in Estadio León in Los Aldamas, Mexico. And that's going to be played on May 31st. If I mispronounced that, I do apologize. But LFC plays Lyon on May 31st in Mexico, which it's basically for the CONCACAF finals, and it's basically for all the marbles. And then the second leg is going to be at BMO Stadium, or the former Bank of California Stadium, which will be held in Los Angeles, California. That's going to be a 6 p.m. start time, 6 p.m. Pacific start time. The first leg will be played at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So for LAFC, I'd like to see them win the CONCACAF tournament finals, or the CONCACAF finals. I have been hearing that teams have been cursed when it comes to winning the CONCACAF tournament. I'm not sure if that is a thing, but this is LAFC we're talking about. They are stacked across the board in terms of level of talent. Even when they lose players like Gareth Bale to retirement and whatnot, LAFC is still just kicking butt and taking names. I mean, remember, they're still the best team in the Western Conference. Now, they're not the best team in the league, as they're still chasing Cincinnati, and they haven't played a whole lot of games, as many as Nashville has, just because two of their games have been postponed. Atlanta has been postponed just because of the tournaments that LAFC has partaken in, CONCACAF and the U.S. Open Cup, and then their season opener against the Galaxy was postponed just because Mother Nature was a thing. But LAFC is still kicking butt quite a bit. So I really have to commend LAFC for continuing their strong efforts. And even because more often than not, I want to say the MLS and most soccer leagues are like, what's the word? A merry-go-round in terms of, like, dominance. Like, one year, it's like one team is, like, really, really, really good, and then a team is, like, really, really, really bad, and then vice versa, and whatnot. So, overall, for LAFC, I'm glad they're still on the echelon, and they're still on the side of being really, really, really good, especially since the Western Conference is so competitive, with Seattle being back up to dominance, St. Louis Football Club being really good. I mean, they've kind of gotten slapped back to reality after their strong start. Dallas has improved. San Jose has drastically improved compared to last year. Minnesota and Vancouver are up there. And then even Portland is still knocking on that door. So overall for LAFC, I'm excited to see what they could do. Their next MLS game will not be until Wednesday, June 7th, when they play Atlanta, or when they host Atlanta, which is probably their postponed game because of all of the U.S. Open Cup stuff, as well as the CONCACAF tournament. So, after the CONCACAF tournament is done, LAFC will no longer have to deal with those tournaments anymore, and then they'll be back to MLS stuff, which is basically the main goal. The main goal is to win the MLS stuff, and if they don't win the CONCACAF tournament, that's fine. But at the same time, it would just be a feather in their cap. I don't even think, to my knowledge, LAFC has won the CONCACAF tournament. I have never seen them winning CONCACAF, and all I've seen is like Seattle winning CONCACAF and whatnot, and all these other international teams. But overall for LFC, if they do win the CONCACAF finals, cool. Then that's quite amazing. But it's not going to guarantee them to winning the MLS Cup again. But we'll see what happens. Alright, that is going to do it for some MLS talk. Let's take ourselves a quick little... Actually, we were going to take a quick little commercial break, but I actually want to discuss some NWSL, as I didn't discuss any of that last week, so oops. my bad on that. So, in terms of the San Diego Wave FC and in terms of the Los Angeles Wave FC, San Diego stomped all over Houston last week, 3-0 in a regular season game. And then on Sunday, May 14th, San Diego whooped Kansas City 2-0. Kind of reminded me of the good old days of the Chargers beating the Chiefs, back when the Chiefs weren't all that great, but I digress. And then something I forgot about on May 6th is that Washington really beat the tar out of San Diego. 3-1. I was just flabbergasted. In terms of the NWSL standings, San Diego is third in the NWSL standings. Believe it or not, New York/New Jersey, aka Gotham FC, is in first place. Now, Gotham was actually the worst team, I think one of the worst teams in the league last year, but now they have risen to power. I want to say maybe the NWSL draft has done wonders for them, but either way, it's quite incredible. This just goes back to my previous statement that some of these soccer leagues have, like, it's a merry-go-round in terms of, like, teams sometimes being bad one year and then teams being good another year, and then it's a complete flip-flop. But at least Wave is still in that echelon of being pretty good. Now, unfortunately, I cannot say the same for LA, or Angel City FC, as last Saturday they tied with North Carolina, or the North Carolina Courage, as they tied 0-0. And then last Saturday, they too lost to the Washington Spirit. Yeah, Washington Spirit, as they lost 1-0, as Ashley Hatch scored a penalty kick in extra time. Ouch! You forced a penalty kick. You allowed a penalty kick in extra time. If that's not the definition of ouch, I don't know what is. And then on Sunday, Sunday, May 7th, Angel City beat Kansas City 3-2, which is pretty good. They almost lost, if I remember correctly, Angel City nearly blew that lead, I'm not going to say it, but they were up 3-0. Alyssa Thompson scored the first goal in the 31st minute. 12 minutes later, Claire Emsley scored in the 43rd minute. And then in 1 minute after, in extra time, June Endo scored, and then that was basically the first half. Angel City was up 3-0, and I'm like, okay. And if I recall correctly, the Kansas City Current are one of the more better teams, except not really. It seems like they've had quite the paradigm shift as well, as they went from pretty good team from last year all the way to bottom of the barrel. And then in the second half, it was quite the turnaround, as Isabel Rodriguez scored for Kansas City in the 57th minute. Then 4 minutes after that, Cecilia Kaiser scored, and it was suddenly 3-2, but fortunately Angel City held their ground, even though the Current got a couple of shots here and there to try to get that equalizer. It wasn't enough as Angel City won 3-2, which fortunately they did not have a blunder. So good job for Angel City. But unfortunately for them, currently they are 9th in the NWSL standings, which is... There's still time for them to turn it around. The playoffs aren't until October-ish. And they still have 5 months left of gameplay for them to turn the tide. Their next game is going to be this Saturday at OL Reign. And then their next group stage play game is going to be against Portland, the Portland Thorns, which that's always a competitive game, especially since Portland is so good. I still have nightmares from that one game where San Diego Wave FC got a goal taken away because of lack of replay and whatnot, and goal indicator and whatnot. Speaking of San Diego and Portland, the two actually play one another tonight at 7 p.m., and then San Diego plays OL Reign on Wednesday in group stage play, which should be quite the matinee matchup right there. Now, San Diego on June 4th will be getting quite the big-time matchup, as they're going to be heading down to the Big Apple to take on Gotham FC. And that's going to be quite the battle right there, just because Gotham, like I said, is currently the best team in the NWSL. So we'll see if Wave FC can crash down on Gotham City. Or Gotham FC. But for the time being, it's just a wait-and-see process. Every team in the NWSL has played 8 matches, with Gotham being the only... Well, Gotham and San Diego are the only teams to have won 5 matches. The only difference is that San Diego has lost 3, while Gotham has only lost 2. Lucky punks. I'm just kidding. That's not nice. So, anyway, that's that for San Diego Wave FC and Angel City FC. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some MLB to discuss, and we'll see what happens after that. We may just go straight into Dum Dum of the Week following that, but we'll see what happens. Regardless, you are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pulp culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Sports Couple Perspective with Larry and Cecilia B. That should be going on tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We also have the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax, which goes on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Also check out my brother, Marcus Losgreat, which goes on bi-weekly every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Definitely do check out those shows and all of our amazing shows on IE Sports Radio. But for the time being, let's get on into segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I actually do want to give a big W award to USC women's golf. So I did not know this, and man, I am lacking in the everything others than the big time sports department. USC women's golf actually made it to the NCAA Women's Golf Championship, and I was unaware of this until something got tweeted onto my timeline, or retweeted onto my timeline, and I will just say this. That's incredible right there. I was quite impressed. I'm like, wow, USC women's golf got all the way to the NCAA championship, and their opponent was Wake Forest. Now, I am no golf expert by any means, but the fact that they even got that far is quite incredible. They really represent SoCal well. Unfortunately, they fell short to Wake Forest as they lost 3-1. I guess I actually do not know how golf does it in terms of like NCAA tournament, but I guess you have to get you pick some of your best golfers to face the other team's best golfers, and then it goes, and then whoever wins the head-to-head first gets the point, and then whoever gets 3 points first wins. So, unfortunately, USC lost 3-1, and sadly, it just ended it ended in heartbreak for them as they got so far, but unfortunately, they just fell short. Kind of like the women's water polo team as they lost to Stanford in the national championship game, as they lost that 11-2. But this is about USC women's golf because they never really get that far, honestly. I will also say this: they did show good sportsmanship on Twitter as well, as they said congratulations at Wake W Golf, which is Wake Forest Women's Golf's Twitter handle, on your national championship. We look forward to seeing you again next year. To everyone else, thank you for joining us on this ride. We will be back. Hashtag fight on, then a hashtag, and then it's a fight on emoji, and then it's a golf emoji. Well, first of all, congratulations to USC Women's Golf on a fantastic season. Again, I'm no golf expert, but that's just amazing right there. Second of all, great job on having good sportsmanship. I don't know if Wake Forest replied, and I hope they did. Okay, they did. Okay, good. They said, thank you for a great match. We will see you next year. I was going to say, if they did not reply, I'm smelling some stuff right here. But thank you to Wake Forest Women's Golf for replying and saying, for being a good sport as well. I guess they'll get big W of the award, but congratulations to USC Women's Golf on a fantastic season, and congratulations to them on showing great sportsmanship, and basically showing nothing but respect. Because at the end of the day, you win with class and you lose with class. I mean, yes, you want to win the national championship for your school and your families and your friends and the bragging rights. But at the end of the day, it's all about class. And I'm glad whoever runs the USC women's golf account decided to tweet that out, or basically that sort of thing. And I would go as far as to say that even if USC had won, they would say good game to Wake Forest Golf and congratulations on your amazing season. We hope to see you again. And I guess I should also give another big W award to the Los Angeles Lakers Twitter account person for basically tweeting out respect at Nuggets. Just because obviously it sucks losing to or getting swept to the opponent. And the Lakers, whoever runs the Lakers Twitter account is obviously showing a lot of respect to the opposing teams, even the Grizzlies. So good job to whoever runs the Lakers Twitter account. So you get the Big W award. USC gets the Big W award for showing good sportsmanship and having a great season. And then Wake Forest Women's Golf's, whoever runs their Twitter account, gets the Big W award for replying and saying thank you for a great match. We will see you next year. It would have been an even bigger Big W award had they said congratulations on an amazing season. You all were awesome, blah, 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 blah. But I think that was the perfect reply. You obviously don't want to go too gushy, but whatever. It is what it is, and they showed good sportsmanship, and that's what it's all about. I know this sounds like AYSO stuff, but it is what it's... I mean, good sportsmanship is kind of what it's all about, so... yeah. Thank you, USC Women's Golf, for making Southern California proud, and thank you for winning the Pac-12 championship. You will get that fourth national championship, so don't even stress about it. You will be back on that big stage, and we can't wait to see what happens going forward next season for y'all. All right, so that is that for that little Big W of the Ward segment right there. So let's go on into some MLB, and then we'll see what happens going from there, because I don't know what we're going to do after that. I want to say that maybe we'll end it off with Dum Dum of the Week, and then we won't have a longer show. But I mean, we have NCAA softball going on right now. Before we go on into that, we have San Diego State playing. They're still unlike UCLA. San Diego State is still alive in the NCAA softball tournament as they play Utah, which, yikes, that's going to be interesting right there. And then I do remember Long Beach State also lost, which, I mean, Long Beach coming out of the Big West Conference, that's so tough. Like, you kind of have to have a broken team, and you have to be, like, nationally ranked. And unfortunately, Long Beach State and Cal State Fullerton weren't that ranked team, so unfortunately, they just could not make it out to the Super Regionals. But they tried. All right. Now let's jump on into some MLB. So, the Angels, Dodgers, and Padres. All right, so let's jump to the Angels first. So the Angels actually showed quite a bit of promise. Now, Thursday they didn't have a game, but Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday, they actually managed to pull off something I did not think they would do. They actually pulled off a 3-game sweep over the Boston Red Sox as they... well, actually, before we get on into that one, they beat the they played against the Minnesota Twins, and they took 2 out of 3 against those guys. Last Friday, they won 5-4, but then they lost last Saturday 6-2. But then on Sunday, they won that game 4-2. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they swept the Boston Red Sox. Monday, they beat the Red Sox 2-1, and then Tuesday, they beat the Bo Sox 4-0. And then Wednesday, they beat the Bo Sox by a football score of 7-3. And I was quite impressed just because the Red Sox come from such a tough division in the AL East. But Shohei Ohtani hit a dinger, and the Angels got out to a strong lead, and they didn't let up, which is a rarity. I didn't think that would actually happen. So, good job to the Angels. I didn't think they would actually sweep the Red Sox. Now, obviously, it was at home, and the Red Sox have been that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team, and going from Boston all the way to Anaheim is a brutal trip, but the Angels will take what they can get. Now, my thing is for the Angels, is this the start of something good going forward, or is this going to be the start of something good, and then it's going to be followed up with bad misfortune? The Angels fan in me hopes that it's the second option just because, or I'm sorry, not the second option. It's the first option just because I think Angels fans would like to see the Angels not be bad after a promising start. And they'd like to have good fortune and good fortune only. So we'll see what happens. This weekend, the Angels will stay at Angel Stadium to host the Miami Marlins. First game is at 6:38 p.m., which is tonight. All these games will be at Pacific time, by the way. Saturday's game will be at 7:07 p.m., and then Sunday's game will be at 1:07 p.m. Then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and not Thursday, the Angels will hit the road to the Windy City to take on the Chicago White Sox. So last week they had the Red Sox. Now they get the White Sox on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. First game is at 5:10 p.m. Pacific time, as well as the second game on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, they play the White Sox at 11:10 a.m., which should be a fun little matchup right there. The White Sox, all I know, they're struggling, and this has kind of been like the most interesting thing right there for the White Sox. I don't think anyone predicted them to being this horrible, but I'm not going to complain. The Angels could take all the wins that they can get. And between the Marlins and the White Sox, the Angels can make up quite a bit of ground in their division because their next series is going to be against the Houston Astros in Houston on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week. And that is going to be a tough one right there. While the Astros aren't the Astros of last year, and while they are in second place, the Angels it would be great to see the Angels take 3 out of 4. If they can get at least 2, if they could split, great. But they cannot afford to get swept, nor can they afford to only take 1. They gotta get at least 2. But for the time being, I'm liking this Angels team. I don't think they're playing bad. They're just playing in the middle. So we'll see what happens with the Angels going forward. Now, as for the Dodgers have had their fair share ups and downs. Against the Atlanta Braves, they looked pretty solid. But against the Cardinals on Sunday, they looked bad. But against the Braves, I already mentioned how poor they did against the Cardinals this past weekend, and how that poor weekend against the Cardinals has them clinging to a 1.5 game lead in the AL West, or not AL West, NL West, over the the Arizona Diamondbacks. I can't believe I'm actually saying that the Diamondbacks are actually good. Interesting. Anyway, so in Game 1 against the Braves, the Dodgers won 8-6. Then in Game 2 on Tuesday, the Dodgers won 8-1. Unfortunately, the Dodgers did not hold serve as they lost to the Braves 4-3. I will give the Dodgers this. They were rather impressive on the road. It would have been great to see them taking all 3 games in Atlanta, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't too bad. So the Dodgers will remain in the South as they'll be heading to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays, starting today at 3:40 p.m. Pacific time. It's the battle of 2 of the best teams in each division. And then on Saturday, the 2 teams will be playing each other at 1:10 p.m. And then on Sunday, early start time for both of these teams as they play at 8:35 a.m. Big yikes. Then the Dodgers will return home on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and not Thursday, as they'll welcome the Washington Nationals to the Chavez Ravine, which the Nationals haven't really been up to snuff. They should be able to beat them, as the Dodgers play the Nationals on Monday at 6:10 p.m., then Tuesday at 7:10 p.m., and then Wednesday at 1:10 p.m. Then next Friday all the way through Sunday, the Dodgers will host the Yankees, as David Ortiz would say it like, as the Dodgers play next Friday at 7:10 p.m., then they play on Saturday at 4:15 p.m. on Fox, and then the 2 teams will actually be playing on Sunday Night Baseball at 4 p.m. So the Yankees have kind of been rather fascinating, if you ask me. The Yankees are nowhere near the team that I thought that they would be, but they're still clinging. They're still hanging in there in terms of the AL East. But hey, it's still fairly early. The season's a marathon, not a sprint, as there are only 58 games into the season. So we'll see what happens. But Dodgers-Yankees is always good baseball right there. I mean, I will say this, it's probably 2 of the, I wouldn't say obnoxious fan bases, but 2 of the most headache-like fan bases out there, but what can you do? I personally think that Yankees fans, in my opinion, are kind of more headache-like, but that's just my opinion. Then we've got the Padres. Padres, what are we going to do with you? We got to get you back on track. As back where we left off, they beat the Red Sox on Sunday 7-0. And then this past week, they had Monday off, which was probably good for them, as they beat the Washington Nationals 2 out of 3 times this past week. They won the first game on Tuesday 7-4, lost the second game 5-3, and then won the rubber match 8-6, which is good. So this weekend, the Padres will head down to the Big Apple to take on the New York Yankees, which hopefully for the Padres' sake, they're able to salvage some wins. I think it's doable, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that just because the Yankees are playing decent. They've won 7 of their last 10, though they have lost 2 in a row. But we'll see. First game of the series is at 4:05 p.m. That starts tonight. Then the next game is at 10:05 a.m. tomorrow. And then the final game of the series is at 10:35 a.m., which is tomorrow, or which is on Sunday. Then the Padres have Monday off, and then they play a 3-game series in Miami against the Marlins. The first game is at 3:40 p.m., as well as Wednesday's game. And then Thursday's game will be held at, I imagine it's going to be earlier, 10:10 a.m. And then next week, the Padres return home to Petco Park to host the Chicago Cubs in a 4-game series, which will span all the way from next Friday all the way down to the following Monday. So it's time for the Padres to get some dubs, just because they really need to get some wins going here. I would like to see them being more competitive, because they're not competitive when they're trailing the San Francisco Giants in the NL West. I mean, the Diamondbacks are improved. I'll give the Padres the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But being behind the Giants? Ouch. Gotta do something about that, Padres. Please do something about that. Especially, I mean, I know World Series hangovers are a thing, or championship hangovers can sometimes be a thing, but NLCS hangovers, I don't think that's a thing. Can it? But then again, Philly's not having a great year as well, as they're in 4th place in the National League East, but we'll see. Alright, so that is that for the MLB portion of the show. It's kind of surprising just to see the Angels are doing better than the Padres at this point, because I think everyone had more high expectations for the Padres, but what can we do? Larry B added in the chat room that Long Beach is a great school, lots of great teams. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Long Beach State is definitely a great team. The only problem is that they're overshadowed in the Big West Conference, and the Big West Conference is not of that Power 5, but I digress. Alright, so that is that for the MLB portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, it is time we give out the Dum Dum of the Week. And the Dum Dum of the Week goes out to anyone or any person that does something really dumb. No one is safe from this award. Basically, anyone can get this award, and my goodness, anyone... I have the perfect person to basically give this award out to, but I actually found out there's another person or organization deserving of this award, and oh boy, this organization done messed up when I saw this news, but honestly, yes, Larry, it is such a good segment, and I try to make it as entertaining as possible. Overall, the first Dum Dum of the Week, well, I feel I had a mini Dum Dum of the Week, but I think I lost it. But oh, now I remember my mini Dum Dum of the Week. My mini Dum Dum of the Week was going to be Anthony Davis, but here's the thing. So yesterday I worked at a grocery store. I worked 8 hours, and a mom and her small child were coming through one of the check stands, and the checker, who's worked at the store that I've worked at, he was seeing the little kid eat, and he's like, he's going to be growing up to be a football player. And the mom was like, well, actually, he likes Anthony Davis and the NBA. And I was just thinking, oh no. And she mentioned that Anthony Davis and the Lakers were eliminated. And I'm just thinking, God dang it, Anthony Davis, why did y'all have to lose on Monday? Why couldn't you have just lost on Wednesday? So I kind of have to give Anthony Davis the mini Dum Dum of the Week and the Lakers. I mean, they let that little kid down who is a big Anthony Davis fan. Oh, and I felt so heartbroken. It's like, gosh, dang it, Anthony Davis. One of your fans was heartbroken when you lost. I mean, LeBron obviously took the final shot, but why didn't you go for the win instead of going for the tie? You play to win the game. But anyway, this isn't about LeBron. This is about Anthony Davis and how, unfortunately, he didn't put on his big boy pants in this game. So, I'll give Anthony Davis the benefit of the doubt. He stayed healthy for the most part. He was healthy for the playoffs, which was big because if he wasn't healthy for the playoffs, the Lakers don't get to the Western Conference Finals. I'm just going to say it like that. But unfortunately for Anthony Davis, he let down that little kid who he and his mom went through my line, and he basically, obviously he was disappointed, and he doesn't know what he's going to do now. He's obviously going to be rooting for the Buffalo Bills come the fall, because his mom said he was a Buffalo Bills fan. Ouch. But, yeah, Anthony Davis, you let down a young fan in my neighborhood, so you're kind of the mini dum-dum of the week. But I will give you credit, you stayed healthy, so you're not the full dum-dum of the week. But now we gotta get on into the main dum-dums of the week. So, alright, so this news broke earlier this morning, and I don't know what this organization is doing. I know there are incompetent franchises, and I know this franchise could not help it because of their cap situation and this player just eating so much cap space with his contract. But we just got word that from the NFL that the Arizona Cardinals released DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not kidding you. The Arizona Cardinals released DeAndre Hopkins, which, oh no. What have you done, Arizona Cardinals? Do you know what you have just done? Now he is free to basically sign to wherever he wants to. And he can go wherever he wishes. He can go to Buffalo. He can go to the Patriots. Though I don't think he wants to be reunited with Bill O'Brien. That's for sure. But he could go to the Chiefs. I swear by all that is holy, Cardinals, you have messed up big time. I know DeAndre Hopkins' contract hit $22 million a year, and the Cardinals' cap space just could not handle that. But why would you release him? Why couldn't you have just traded him? Now, if the Chiefs pick him up, that could be the final piece to the Chiefs possibly repeating as Super Bowl champions. What have you done, Cardinals? I've seen some incompetency, but this is just truly incompetent. You released a big-time wide receiver into the free agent pool, and now it's only a matter of time before Andy Reid or Brett Veach of the Kansas City Chiefs gets on the phone and signs him. Do you not have any logic? You have doomed the NFL. You have doomed them. Unless, of course, maybe the Buffalo Bills sign them. But still, that could be just as bad because they're probably a wide receiver or two away from possibly having a complete supreme offense as well. What have you done, Cardinals? No wonder you're a laughing stock. I'm sick to my stomach just even thinking about this. Ah. D-Hop on the Chiefs? I can't even imagine that. They're going to bring him back to his true form. He's going to be torturing defenses like he was at Clemson. This is going to be a nightmare. And the Cardinals just released him because they can't manage cap space. And great job to freaking Bill O'Brien for allowing this. And the funny thing would be is if Bill O'Brien dealt D-Hop to the Cardinals, and then D-Hop finds his way back to the Patriots, and then Bill O'Brien finds his way back to coaching him as the offensive coordinator. Now that would be quite something. That would be grade A plus brain masterclass. But for the Cardinals, your incompetency of releasing one of the top weapons in the NFL and possibly giving him to the Chiefs or Bills or any team in need of a wide receiver, which could possibly complete a chance at a team winning a Super Bowl, has landed you on Dum Dum of the Week. How incompetent can y'all get?
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Now, if D-Hop goes to the Rams, that's no problem. But still, what have you done, Cardinals? No wonder you're the laughingstock of the NFL. Gosh. But it doesn't end there. Now that we're on the topic of the NFL and Dum Dum of the Week, oh my goodness. So I actually saw something so terrible, I actually wanted to throw up. So I was on break at my job, and then I have never heard of this website. It's called the 33rd Team. It says NFL contact from current and former players, coaches, and executives. Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. That's actually a pretty good title just because there are currently 32 NFL teams, and, I guess this is a pretty good organization to call yourself, or a website, or whatever it's called. So I'll give them credit on a creative nickname, but apparently one of their writers, Ross Tucker, had a head coach power rankings. Now, he's a former NFL player, I'll give him that, and he's had a bunch of media gigs working with like the Philadelphia Eagles, Audacity Sports, Westwood One, and CBS Sports, just to name a few. And he also has a podcast, which is cool. And he's also worked with My Front Page Story, and he's worked with Go Big Recruiting as well. But he had his head coach power rankings. So it's understandable that people have their own opinions on things. But here is where I have to give him Dum Dum of the Week. He puts Sean McVay at 7, which, okay, that's really good. One of the youngest head coaches out there, even though Sean McVay has contemplated retirement and going to the booth. Good job on putting him top 10. Now, he put Chargers coach Brandon Staley at number 20, and he puts them at 20 for good reason. Now, it's not where he put Brandon Staley I have an issue with. It's basically who he has after Brandon Staley. So, some of the coaches I'm going to go down the list of 32 through 21. So, 32, I have no idea who the Cardinals coach is. It's Gannon. Then 31 is D'Amico Ryans. 30 is Shane Steichen. 29 is Josh McDaniels. Sorry, Larry. 22 is Matt Eberflus. 27 is the Saints head coach, Allen, I guess. 26 is Todd Bowles. 25 is Matt Sala. 24, Frank Reich. 23, Kevin Stefanski. 21 is Mike McCarthy. Now the reason why I skipped number 22 is I think y'all are going to disagree on this. So, as you all know, Brandon Staley is number 20 on Ross Tucker's head coach power rankings, but number 22 of the head coach power rankings via Ross Tucker is Sean McDermott. Yep, you're hearing that correct. Ross Tucker's power rankings in terms of head coaches has Brandon Staley, a guy who hasn't even won a playoff game, ahead of Sean McDermott. Okay, I don't agree with this for 1 minute. I'm a Chargers fan, but I do not agree with this for 1 second. Yes, Brandon Staley has guided the Chargers to back-to-back winning seasons. No, he is not a better coach than Sean McDermott. What? I'm sorry, but this is a terrible, terrible list. I understand some of the picks. He did a pretty good job, but that's probably the worst thing I've ever seen. He should have flipped Staley and McDermott. But honestly, that's bad, dude. Staley can't even manage a game clock, let alone an offense, and McDermott has taken his team to the AFC Championship. McDermott could coach circles around Brandon Staley, and yet Ross Tucker decides to rank Brandon Staley ahead of Sean McDermott. I'm sorry, but this is beyond terrible of a list. That is the worst decision I have ever seen. And I even had to tag Patty Bax, the host of the Buffalo Huddle. Who does this? This is a terrible decision. I understand people have their opinions, but it's so bad. And you look at the rosters. The Bills, I hate to admit this, even when healthy for the Chargers, are probably better than the Chargers. And yet, Sean McDermott is ranked below Brandon Staley? I almost wanted to call the police on this. Like, you just can't put a guy who can't even manage a game clock, let alone a guy who goes for it on fourth down in his own territory, over a guy who has actually taken his team to the AFC Championship, who actually has had success with his team, who has actually won playoff games ahead of him. Like, that just doesn't make sense. You just can't put Brandon Staley ahead of McDermott. Staley has not proven anything. He's on the hot seat for this season. Everyone is saying that Staley should have been fired after that 27-0 debacle against the Jaguars. McDermott deserves at least some credit for contemplating or completing a roster and getting the Bills to practically the AFC Championship, or getting them close to the AFC Championship. They've just had some rotten luck against the Chiefs, and last year being the Bengals. Unfortunately, and I read some of the article, this isn't going to get easier for McDermott. It's not going to get easier for the Chargers, because the Chargers have guys that are like in their 30s, and they're going to have to reload the roster with young guys. And what are they going to do about some of the O-line that continues to be leaky? Like, you just can't put Sean McDermott behind Brandon Staley. On a coach rankings, like, McDermott should be at least 9 through 16. Like, Staley is barely top 20. Like, this was such a trippy power rankings. It was so weird to even see Mike McCarthy behind Staley, but McCarthy is also coaching for his job this season. But I'm sorry, I just don't agree with Sean McDermott being ranked behind Brandon Staley in terms of coach power ranking. So I'm sorry, Ross Tucker. I don't know who you are, but that decision alone lands you on Dum Dum of the Week. Like, who puts a guy who can't even manage a game clock, let alone who goes for it on 4th and 1 in their own territory, and who calls timeout to basically force the opposing team in a win-or-go-home situation in Week 18 to basically run the ball and go for the win? I'm just saying, and I know it's not all Staley's fault in that situation, but still, Brandon Staley is not a defensive guru, by the way. That dude was carried by Aaron Donald. So, regardless, Ross Tucker is the Dum Dum of the Week for putting Brandon Staley ahead of Sean McDermott in his coaching rankings. Like, what in the world is that?
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. Patty Bax even replied to me. She said, I think that's just to get the attention of Bills Mafia and all Bills fans. But it would be even more sweeter if the Bills were to win. Yeah, I mean, for that sake, for me, I think Sean McDermott is definitely much better. I think Sean McDermott, it's even more weird to see Ron Rivera, and I don't even know who the Falcons coach is, ahead of Sean McDermott. I would put Sean McDermott, like, at, I don't know, maybe 14, because McDermott is behind Mike McCarthy, Brandon Staley, Ron Rivera, whoever the Falcons coach is, Lovie Smith? I'm not sure. I don't follow the Falcons. Matt LaFleur, Mike Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel, Mike Vrabel, Zach Taylor, Jim Harbaugh, Doug Peterson and Pete Carroll and just a bunch of other coaches, just to name a few. Like, I would put McDermott ahead of McDaniel. Oh, no, not ahead of McDaniel. I'd put him ahead of Mike Vrabel and then move everyone else down a peg. So, I'm just saying, y'all, Staley is not a better coach than Sean McDermott. I think, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, Staley has so much more to prove. And until he gets the Chargers at least one playoff win, or he gets them at least a playoff run, or at least maybe two, or he stops making stupid decisions like, I don't know, maybe not playing your starters in Week 18, which is meaningless, in a full game, he has a whole lot to prove. Staley is a complete nut job who continues to make mistake after mistake, who thinks he is ahead of the game, but he isn't. And you know Brandon Staley is not making the correct decisions when Rex Ryan is straight up chewing him out on ESPN. It really is. But on that note, before I lose my mind even more about Brandon Staley being ranked ahead of Sean McDermott in terms of coaching rankings, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get on out of here, because I got to get me some grub in my stomach. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Chat to the chat room. My boy Larry B was pretty much leading the chat room. I really do appreciate you tuning in. Mike Pat was also popping in the chat room, talking a little about St. Francis, as well as Adam Karnick, talking about DOS, predates Windows, and whatnot. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. We have plenty of shows going on later today. We have Let's Whine About DMV Sports with Mike Pat going on probably at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then an hour before that, we have Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B and Celia B going on an hour before that. And then before that, unless something changes, we have Carolina Cast with John Felipe. Gotta send him to feel better on his little, doctor's appointment. He kind of had a little bit of a procedure. I hope he is doing better, but have yourselves a great rest of the weekend. Be safe, everybody. It is sunscreen season. Please do apply your sunscreen, as some places the sun is going to pop out. If you're going to be in the Long Beach area, I will be at Long Beach City College, where you will see me at the NBA in the background, things, behind the scenes work. I will see you all Tuesday for Set Point, because Monday the NBA is going to go all the way from Saturday to Monday. But Tuesday at noon I will have Set Point. Next Saturday is probably when I'll be doing SoCal Supreme Sports Show next. But until then, have yourself a great week, and I will see you next week. Good night, everybody, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!